Welcome to my podcast, Jack to the Future. From science and inventions to pollution and recycling, I talk about what's changing in the world, the future, and how we can help with that. Every month I'll talk about a different future theme. For example, the future of science, tech, sustainability, reading, music, and all sorts of other ones. The future of everything. Did you know? You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Jed to the Future and on YouTube as Jack to the Future. Follow me to get behind the scenes info, access to the previews about my next episodes, and much, much more. This week's episode is about the future of mental health. It's a two-parter. I interview Joe and Jess from Heart's Mind Network and Roz from Mindful Magic Royston. This episode is relevant to children and young people, no matter how old you are. It has some useful and practical tips to keep yourself and others mentally healthy. Roz tells us about what her sessions with children would involve, some breathing techniques. She talks to us about how mindfulness is really important. She takes us through a guided meditation right here in this podcast. Joe and Jess talk about what Heart's Mind Network have to offer children and young people, their parents or carers, and professionals working with children and young people. We talk about the impact of COVID on the services they provide, as well as talking about some really useful tips that you can use when you or somebody else are feeling anxious. And of course, we talk about their predictions for the future. I think there'll be more research into how the brain works in the future, and this will help us to be able to be more specific in how we help people. That might be online through website or face-to-face. What do you think the future holds for our mental health? What do you do to stay mindful? Maybe exercising, using a glitter jar, talking to your friends, going for a mindful walk, practising gratitude, or even meditating. Whatever it looks like, being mindful and taking time out to be present and in the moment is really good for your mental health. I think lockdown has definitely showed us how important being with other people is, going out, exercising, all that kind of thing. These are all the 5 ways to wellbeing which have been researched and developed by the New Economics Foundation. They are to connect, so having relationships with other people, to be active, to take notice, to learn. My favourite, and hopefully listening to my podcast help with that. And number 5, to give, so to help others. Just before we begin, just to say, we talk about the pros and cons of social media and its impact on mental health. Obviously, there are age restrictions for being on social media sites like Facebook, most of which say you have to be over 13 years of age to have an account, which is why my mum does all my podcast stuff and I don't go on them. The UK Safer Internet Centre has some useful advice about this, so check it out if you need to. I'd like to welcome Jess and Joe from the charity Heart's Mind Network. Hello, and thank you for being here. What's your job and what do you do to help children?
Thanks for introducing me, Jack. I will tell you a bit about my role and what I do at Heart's Mind Network, but I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what we do specifically first. So at Heart's Mind Network, we deliver essential mental health support in Hertfordshire, and we provide a diverse range of services from our 7 wellbeing centres and other venues across all the county. So we've got lots of places offering lots of support, and we're funded locally, and our services are available to all residents in Hertfordshire over the age of 18, and we offer dedicated services for 10 to 18-year-olds as well. And as the Spot the Science and Emotional Wellbeing Awareness Children and Young People's Coordinator, it's quite a mouthful, my role is to deliver a range of training and workshop sessions to children and young people, youth professionals, so that's maybe like teachers, youth workers, GP or doctor, as well as their parents, carers and families. We educate parents and carers and encourage what we call peer and familial support. And we also empower children and young people to manage, monitor and take control of their mental health by delivering workshops to places like schools, youth groups, and as part of wellbeing events too.
Oh. We saw on your website there are loads of different courses you can do online as well.
So sometimes it's really helpful to learn different things that you can do to help your mental health. And so we have courses where a tutor will meet with a group of people for a couple of weeks, and they'll kind of teach them different techniques and different ways of kind of lifting themselves out of maybe feeling down or sad. We do loads of different varied stuff, really. We also offer like one-to-one support, so people can just work with one person and they can support them with managing their mental health and overcoming different things that they might be finding difficult. We also offer groups, because some people find being in a group environment really helps, and being able to connect with people socially and get some support from one another. I'm sure, Jack, you've got kind of friends at school that sometimes you talk about how you're feeling, or if you're having a bad day, or even maybe a teacher or your mum or your dad. So actually that importance of speaking to other people about what's going on.
So what's your job at Hearts Mind Network, Joe?
So my role is as a specialist youth mentor. So I do some of the one-to-one stuff that I spoke about a second ago. So I work specifically with teenagers, so 15 to 19 years old, and we support teenagers that are maybe struggling to be in education, training or work, or they're having some difficulties in moving into those things. So it might be that their mental health stopping them at the moment from going to school or going to college or something like that. Or maybe they're finding it difficult to find a job. And what we do is work with them one-to-one, and we kind of help them move forward towards something that they're really interested in. So, Jack, I don't know, you're maybe a little bit too young to know exactly what you want to do when you're older.
Yeah, exactly,
if you have an idea. Oh, you do already? Wow, that's really good. What is it?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
We're ready.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
The first one was an engineer,
What else?
a physicist, a chemist and a biologist.
Wow, so you like science, is that right?
And an inventor.
Science and maths.
Oh my
Very
gosh.
nice. So if
And
I met
inventor.
someone that wanted to be those things, but they were maybe finding it a bit difficult at the moment to maybe get on their way to becoming that, and that's when we would step in and maybe help them just get on the right track and overcome any difficult things they might be going on at the moment. But that sounds really cool. I'd love to be a biologist.
Yeah.
I love animals.
What does peer-to-peer mean?
Good question. So peer-to-peer basically means that sometimes you don't necessarily need to be a real expert or a doctor to support someone with their mental health. So actually, there's some really straightforward and easy things that you can do to help maybe a friend or someone that is struggling at the moment. So for example, having a real open conversation about what's going on, trying to kind of imagine what they're going through at the moment and trying to empathize with what that experience might be like, really listening to what they're saying so they feel really heard, and maybe encouraging them to maybe reach out for support to a professional. And a lot of our services are drawn from that essence of peer-to-peer support.
We should do more of that.
So a lot of people that work for our charity actually might have had mental health difficulties in the past, and they might have actually had their own experiences of struggling with their mental health. And so maybe they've learned things through their own life that might be able to help other people. And so we really encourage that, you know, that lived experience of maybe having some mental health difficulties is a real valuable tool to help other people.
Joe, you're spot on. And to use it as an example of how we might use it within my project. So we might go into a school and we would deliver a mental health workshop. So we might talk about wellbeing, what wellbeing is. And then at the end, we would encourage all the children to go home to their families and their friends in other classes and share with them what they learned that day. So that way they can they're offering that peer support in terms of giving them some advice and suggestions and things to do and to help look after their mental well-being.
I think it's a really good explanation.
Very kind.
We do activities at our school about mental health, like Mental Health Awareness Day, when we wear yellow, talking about the 5 ways to well-being. Mum and Dad also went to a workshop and we made a glitter jar too. Sometimes I have lots of thoughts going around my head, so it calms me down. Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
On it, I think it said, did you know at bedtime there was around your head, the average amount of thoughts in your head is 60,000?
Whoa.
Yes, I did know that. But every time we say it in a workshop, it always surprises people. They're like, oh my goodness, that is so many thoughts. And it really is, isn't it? No wonder.
What colour was your glitter jar, Jack? Or was it multicoloured?
Mine was 2 colours, gold and red.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's a lovely thing, isn't it, to just watch it. It's very relaxing. Shake it up and then just watch them all kind of float around and then start to go to the bottom.
Yeah. It's been really tough for the last 2 lockdowns. Have you had to work with more children than before because of this?
Yeah, you're right. The pandemic was very, very tough. I think we all had to find new ways of working. I'm sure, Jack, you had to adapt with school and doing online school and homeschooling. And so we continued to run our service and we just converted it all to online or on the telephone. What we're really thankful for is actually young people are really smart and clever on technology. I mean, I was learning a lot from the young people, to be honest, about how to use the different things. But that was really good. Oh, what was that, Jack?
Same with me.
Yeah, I can imagine. One thing that was quite tricky was that because my job is to help people into like education, work and training, there was a lot of up and down with what was going on. The job market went a bit weird, there's unemployment and things. So it was a little bit tricky. We had to work around it and find alternatives. We all learned from it, I think, as well. And both myself and Jess in our services, we're continuing to offer virtual things. And actually, it's made things a lot more accessible for young people as well. Having to meet someone face to face or in person and have to travel to places could sometimes mean that people thought, I don't think I can do that, or it's going to be too difficult. But actually, a lot of people can access online support from their bedroom or from their home. And so we can reach more people, which is really beneficial.
That leads on to my question later about technology. Sounds like it has some good parts too, then, after all.
Yeah.
I have got a relatively long answer for you, Jack, and also a question at the end, okay? So get ready for the question. Yes, it has been really tough with the last 2 lockdowns. You're right. I think for adults and children and people alike. So much of the training and workshops that my project delivers takes place in schools. And what we found was when the schools were closed, we weren't actually able to reach and support as many children and young people as usual. And a lot of our training for professionals and parents actually moved to online platforms. So we might use something like Zoom, maybe Microsoft Teams. But unfortunately, this wasn't always as successful for children and young people because a lot of the workshops we deliver tend to kind of involve interactive elements. So we get children and people up on their feet and being really active and thinking about mental well-being in a really proactive way. And of course, that doesn't work as well online. Now, having said this, we did deliver a few online assemblies. So we have a workshop called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, and we delivered some of those in schools. And we got some really great feedback too. And I think that was because the children at the school were just really aware of the importance of looking after their well-being at that time, especially being in lockdown and not being able to see their friends and not being able to go outside when they want.
Over lockdown, our school sent out suggestions for activities for each of the 5 ways to wellbeing for each week.
That's a really good idea. And since the schools have reopened, we've been inundated with bookings. So we've had lots of schools contact us and say, will you come and deliver a workshop, which has been really good. And the main mental health difficulty that my project seems to come across is children and young people who are struggling with feelings of anxiety. And when we talk about anxiety, we talk about anxiety as a really healthy human emotion that we all experience. And it's really normal for situations like the first week at a new school or standing up in front of a class. And sometimes it's like we're excited for something as well. And that can make you nervous too. It's kind of a good nervous, but it's still nervous and you still feel anxious. So you still get those butterflies, which sometimes don't feel very nice. But usually what you find is if you just do it, doesn't matter what happens, you can just give it a go and then you can learn from it next time. If you make mistakes, that's okay.
Yeah, and like Jess was saying, the stuff that goes on in your body when you're feeling like that can be really helpful sometimes. So, for example, big sports players, they sometimes need that rush of energy, that adrenaline going through their body to perform the best that they can. It's a really helpful thing and can actually make people kind of push themselves even harder and do even better.
Yeah, but when we start to feel anxious about lots of things, so things that we never used to worry about before, and this in turn stops us from doing the things we used to enjoy, that's when it might be time for us to seek help, maybe from our GP, so our doctor, or from organisations like us here at Hearts Mind Network, because what we might find is this may be something a bit more serious, such as GAD, which we know as generalised anxiety disorder.
You've got to be careful because it's good and healthy sometimes, but if it keeps happening a lot and you're not really sure why, then maybe speak to someone about and kind of explore a little bit.
Agree with that. Yeah, very much so.
So to help children and young people manage feelings of anxiety, what parents, carers and teachers could do is recognise how that young person or child might be feeling. They could listen and empathetically validate their feelings.
Empathy means kind of imagining into that person's world and what's going on for them.
Yeah. They could then help them verbally name the emotions they're experiencing and work with them to kind of problem solve. But everyone is different. So to help a young person or a child gain control over how they are feeling, Parents or carers and teachers could do some breathing techniques. I don't know if you've done any breathing techniques, Jack.
I do quite regularly. Sometimes I do going over my fingers like that.
It's a good one. Yes. What about, do you ever go for a walk sometimes if you're feeling a bit anxious or you have a lot of nervous energy that you want to get rid of maybe?
Not really.
That's okay.
I have a beanbag I like to flump on.
Oh, well, that's a good idea too. Also wonder, do you like doing things that are creative, maybe like art making or baking?
Also, I've painted a canvas which basically represented my feelings of anxiety, anger, and then in the middle is a black area with lots of metallic paint colours, a bit like space really. It also says relax, and then out of it is poking some like roots or the things in your brain which like send out messages. It was a workshop with an extremely talented local artist called Kelly R, based in Hartford. You can see my emotion art on social media and a video process of me doing it.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Great.
What do you think the future of mental health could be?
Good question.
Do you think technology will help or actually cause more problems?
I think at Hearts Mind Network, we kind of hope that the future will see us continue to develop our children and young people's provision to ensure that we provide access to education and support around mental ill health at the earliest opportunity. But also as a local independent charity, we're also really, really grateful for any donations that we might receive to kind of help make this happen. So if maybe any of your listeners would like to donate their support, it would make a real difference to the future of people experiencing mental health difficulties across the county. And if they would like to, what they can do is visit our website, which is www.heartsmindnetwork.org. And many of our services are, I suppose, developed with the use of technology in mind. And we really aim and really believe that it's important to kind of meet young people where they're at by providing them support through the platforms that they're familiar with. So during the first lockdown, we actually launched our Young People's Online Hangout. And I'm going to hand over to Joe to tell you more about that because it's him and his team who operate that.
We set up the online hangout in lockdown because we found that a lot of the young people we were supporting were feeling quite isolated from friends that they couldn't see or couldn't communicate with in the same way in person or meet up with. So we thought it'd be a great idea to maybe run an online Skype hangout for them to maybe meet new people and build friendships and bonds with people and just have that safe space to have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of fun, connect with other people and potentially help them with their mental health. And we're actually still running it now, so people are still really finding it helpful. And when I think about the people that attend that hangout at the moment, they all come from really different places, and actually to run it in person would be impossible because everyone would have to drive like a million miles. So actually the fact we can do it online means that people can connect and have friendships and build bonds, which they maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to otherwise. So yeah, I think kind of keeping technology at the forefront of what we're doing. And personally, I do think that in-person support has a real huge benefit. You know, for certain situations and individuals, a lot of things need to happen in person and actually you can't replace it. Trying to look at combining both. And when we're thinking of future services, it's always going to be part of the thought process.
So being face-to-face is really good because you can meet up with people and you can have a good talk with them. But the disadvantages of that is driving the car. But then on the internet, you can also see lots of people you wanted to. There could be cyberbullying or on the internet. There could also be photos of people or videos of people having a great time, I don't know, a beach holiday or dressing up in really fancy clothes. And then the person would compare themselves and be like, why don't I do fun things like that? When some of the pictures and videos could just be fake and just be edited and real.
I think your pros and cons are really good, Jack. Social media is a really interesting topic, isn't it? Because on one hand, it's amazing because you can keep connected with your friends. You can kind of see what stuff's going on in their lives. During the pandemic, we've had to speak to people online. You know, there wasn't any other choice at one point. But we do have to be careful. Like you say, Jack, it can be misused and sometimes it can become such a big thing in our life and we're on our phones all the time that we can sometimes get into some unhealthy ways of thinking, and it can sometimes make us feel not so good about ourselves, but we can kind of get sucked in a little bit if we're not careful. So I think it's about making sure social media is almost the tool to help you and using it in a really positive way, communicate with others, keep updated about things that are going on in the world, research stuff online. You said you're into science, you can find loads of stuff about biology and physics online.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're noticing that you're getting quite big feelings about what you're seeing online, it might be a little indicator that actually maybe you're really tied into it, and sometimes we need to kind of find other things in our life to help balance it out. If you're relying on one thing, sometimes that can be a bit tricky.
Definitely. At Hearts Mind Network, we hope to see a future where young people are encouraged and guided to use technology as a tool to support them with their mental health. And that might be through apps on their mobile phone, using social media, like you mentioned, Jack, earlier, might even be through gaming, or even accessing some of our online services, just like the young people's online hangout that Joe mentioned earlier.
We've recently had our website redesigned, and we also, which is very cool, have a microsite, so like an extra website specifically for children and young people.
Yeah, check us out.
And we have a children and young people signposting guide that Jess's service made that actually recommends some of the apps that have been kind of quality checked and that can be helpful for children and young people.
You can download that off our new children and young people's website, and the address for that is www.heartsmindnetworkcyp.org.
Just a big thank you, Jack, for finding us and inviting us in. It's been really fun. I've never done a podcast before.
Me neither, first time.
And it's nice to see that you as a young person yourself are really passionate about mental health and about other young people's mental health, and because that's what we're passionate about. So it's nice that we can all have this chat. So thank you.
Yeah, Jack, keep doing what you're doing, because I'm sure there are lots of people who really love listening. And I have listened actually to some of your podcasts.
What I would like to say too is thank you for being here. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
I'd like to welcome Roz from Mindful Magic Royston. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Hello, I'm so pleased to be here.
Lovely to meet you. What is mindfulness?
Well, it's actually about two things. It's about being present and about noticing. So being present means being right here, right now in your mind. So not thinking about what you did earlier or yesterday, and not thinking about what you're going to do later on or what you're going to eat for your lunch, but it's just being in this moment in your mind. And then with noticing, we use our senses. So we've got our sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And we use those to notice what's going on around us and inside us too. When I say what's going on inside us, I mean our thoughts and our feelings.
Yeah, when I'm calm, sometimes I thought just pops in my head, go like, what's for dinner?
Yeah, actually, you might be thinking about other things.
I do that every day.
And lots of people do that. That's the thing.
An instinct.
It is an instinct, but then you can clear your mind and you let those thoughts just float away and you just come back to the present moment again. So that's why it's called practising mindfulness, because no one's perfect at it. So the more you practice, the better you get at keeping the thoughts away for a bit longer.
I do meditation when I go to bed. I have this meditation story. They're about 11 or 12 minutes long, and there's different adventures, like you go to the moon, you go on a hot air balloon. I usually do a beach holiday one, and then after that
lovely.
I do 3 of the same things called magical healing, and it's like plinky flunky music to help me relax.
Really calming music.
What do you do for your job?
I'm a mindful magic mentor, and I run mindfulness and meditation sessions for children of all ages in the community. So in the sessions, we work through 5 magic spells, and they let us use our mind and our body to breathe, to focus, to move, to create, and to meditate. So I'll quickly just explain what those 5 spells are. So when we do the breathe spell, we're just learning really super simple breathing techniques, and that just brings us back to the present moment. It just helps us to get back to right here, right now. And that can calm us down instantly, because it's really funny. People are like, well, we know how to breathe. We all breathe. If you didn't breathe, you wouldn't be alive. So it's not something you have to think about. But when you do think about it, it can change how your body feels. So you can just calm down much quicker when you focus on your breathing. So we do lots of different types of breaths depending on what our theme is for that session. And then when we do the focus spell, that's where we do our noticing. So we just take a moment just to notice what's going on around us or inside our body. And that's when we learn about our thoughts being temporary. So we might feel angry, but that's not going to last forever. So our thoughts change how we feel. And when we're feeling different emotions, some of them are nice to feel, like happy. It's nice to be happy. But sometimes if we're feeling a bit sad or a bit grumpy or a bit anxious, we might not like how that feels in our body. It might make our heart beat a lot faster and it might make us feel really hot suddenly. But then we can learn some tools like the breathing to calm that down and to make our heart beat slower and then just make us feel a bit better again. But that's not all that mindfulness is. So we do actually get up and move around and we do games and activities to get our heart beating faster in a good way. When we do the create spell, that's actually where we see the children enjoying themselves the most because they love doing crafts and they get to draw, colour, cut, stick, paint, and we don't all have to do the same thing. It's very individual. You can choose how you do your particular craft. And so it's a way of them expressing themselves as well. But if you watch the children when they're in their create spell, they are being their most mindful because they're completely in flow. They're not thinking about anything else.
I enjoy art and building things and get really engrossed in it. I guess I'm mindful then.
Yeah. Did I tell you the last spell, which is meditate?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice way to finish the session, just really calm and relaxed. In our sessions, we would be lying on little mats and we can get cozy. We can put blankets on if we want to, have little pillows just to rest our head. It just gives us an opportunity just to switch off and we just listen to a guided meditation. So it's a bit like a story. I take you through it and you imagine in your head what I'm reading. That's one of my favorite bits to do, just because I love imagining things. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about the brain and the neurotransmitters, because we actually do learn about the brain in our sessions and we learn about the different parts of the brain and how they help to control our body and our emotions, because just knowing that sometimes can help us to get through the tougher times.
Yeah, I think I'd like that bit of the session. I've got a book called My Chimp Brain, which tells you about why you might feel different emotions, and it definitely helps to accept how you're feeling and try different ways to react.
That's brilliant.
What age group are your sessions for?
The actual sessions that I'm going to be starting after half term are for 5 to 10-year-olds, but I can also do sessions for children younger than that. Even age 2 can even learn how to do breathing techniques. In fact, my youngest daughter, she's only 1.5 and she actually copies me with doing the breathing sometimes, because sometimes I need to use it myself to calm myself down. But then older children can do it too, and teenagers and adults. So anyone can do meditation and mindfulness.
Yeah, I think my sister could do with that because she screams a lot. I think there was a question you asked me, and it was the theme I would choose for my sort of session. Could you make one about robots?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I'm sure we probably could find a way to make a session on robots. Yeah, right. I'm going to try that. Come? Definitely. I was just going to say some of the other themes that we've got: dragons, bees, dinosaurs, mountains. It's all really different. So I think robots would be a good one. Some of the sessions we might use musical instruments, parachutes, scarves and ribbons, all sorts of different things. And then sometimes we just need to keep it simple because we want the children to be able to go home and to use these tools at home or to use them anywhere that they need to. And they don't always have something with them to do that.
Yeah. We read on your website that your favourite breath is the shark breath. What exactly is that?
I can demonstrate that for you, and you can join in if you want to. So what we do in our sessions, whenever we start to do any breath work, we always just focus on our breathing first. We'd say to put your hands on your tummy and just to do your normal breathing and feel your tummy going up and down. And then take a deep breath and you feel the breath moving all the way down to your belly as it inflates. So you should feel your belly going up as you take a big deep breath. And then as the breath comes all the way out, your belly goes down again and deflates. So we do a few of those practices and then it gets us ready for the technique we're learning. So the shark fin breath is this. You put your hand on your forehead and you would take a deep breath in
Basically, it's just a straight hand because your hand is shaped like a shark fin. All the fingers are joined together, and then you put it on your forehead.
And then as you take your deep breath out, you do a shh sound with your mouth.
You put it down your face, across your nose, onto your mouth, and then put it back into your lap.
Yeah. Okay, so deep breath in and out. But that just helps you with your breath as it's coming out to slow it down a bit. And you'll notice I didn't tell you whether to breathe in through your nose or your mouth, because that's up to you. It's whatever is most comfortable for you.
My nose.
That's the one that if I'm feeling a bit cross, I will do that one too. We learn that it's okay to feel those feelings, and all of the different feelings, they're all equal, they're all valid. There are no bad emotions, no good emotions. They're all the same. But some of the ones that make us feel not so good, then we kind of learn to just accept them and then we can let them go, because then we can feel better. Otherwise, if we hold on to them, we just feel tense the whole time.
What my friends do, they hold on to them for a long time.
Everyone is very different with how we deal with things.
I do this thing where I just try and get the feeling around the head, replace it with a new feeling, or something that I like, for example, fudge, because I love fudge. And then what I do is I just literally throw my feelings out the room, and I keep doing it again. It just goes out of my head and doesn't come back. Sometimes I throw it into the dream catcher that I've got.
Oh yeah, they're very good.
But it gets stuck inside the dream catcher, and it only produces good ones and puts them into my brain.
Oh, that sounds lovely. You found a good little tool yourself, haven't you there?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I've got a meditation here if you want to try one out.
Yeah.
So in my session, you can choose if you lie down or you sit down or you put a blanket on you and get cozy. You keep your eyes open or close your eyes. It's up to you. So this would be like the time where we go all nice and calm. And the particular meditation I've got for you today is called Woodland Wisdom. It's from one of our animal sessions. So we're going on a little adventure in our minds. Are you ready? We're going to the woods. Breathe in and out. Let your eyes rest and let yourself float off to the woods. See the tall trees reaching up to the sky and feel the crunchy leaves under your feet. Hear the rustle of little animals. You see a squirrel up ahead, running up a tree. You see browns and green and a little hint of blue above the trees. Brown, green, blue. You walk really slowly, trying not to disturb the animals in the wood. You watch the trees swaying in the breeze as you breathe in and out. In and out. Gently swaying in the breeze. Just letting all the air flow into your lungs, down to your belly, and then all the way out. You feel calm and peaceful in this wood. You feel happy and joyful as you continue to look around you. The trees, the little animals, the rustling leaves, knowing that you can come back to this wood whenever you want to. All you need to do is close your eyes, knowing that it is safe and peaceful here. Breathe in and out. In and out. And back to the room. I did that a bit faster than I normally would do. Normally would have a lot longer to relax if we needed to. But how did that make you feel?
Made me kind of feel, it made me feel really relaxed, like I was floating in the woods instead.
See, that's why it's my favourite spell, because you can use your imagination and you can go anywhere and feel calm and peaceful.
Feel very peaceful now. How would I find out about any sessions you're running?
What I usually do is I would put all that information up on my Facebook page, and I would advertise the sessions that are coming up. I've also got an Instagram account at Mindful Magic Royston, and people can join my mailing list.
Okay, listeners, make sure you check it out. My next question is, what do you think the future of mental health should include?
Well, I know that schools are starting to do more mindfulness, but I think we need to do more than just in school. It needs to be more in the community for everybody, which is why Mindful Magic was started up, because if it's everywhere and it's just a normal part of life, then we can improve everyone's mental health without having to do too much extra about it. Because mindfulness is something you can do every day. It takes a few minutes and you can just do it when you need to. It doesn't have to be like an extra job that you have to fit into your day. But yeah, I mean, having good training for it in schools is a start, and having the time in the school day to do it. In some areas, the Mindful Magic mentors run sessions after school as an after school club. So that might be something I could try to get into in the future as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what's nice about our sessions is that parents come along to it so they can learn the tools to help their children or even themselves.
Yeah, I think I do. It just needs to be like a usual really job, just usual thing you do in the day. Yeah.
In fact, you can even brush your teeth mindfully.
Yeah.
If you think about nothing else, you just think about how the brush feels on your teeth and about the flavour of the toothpaste. Yeah, there's a lot that we don't notice because we're just so busy all the time. And even, I'm thinking about the bedtime routine, when you're having a bath or a shower, if you focus on the sounds that the water's making as it's flowing, and you see like little splashes of water,
Ooh.
and then if you put bubble bath in, you get the smells from that. Like even that you can be mindful with.
Yeah. Can you give us any tips for activities to do if we're feeling anxious or stressed?
Yeah, so any of the spells that we do in class take some time just to do some deep breathing, but also some children like to just colour in, play with Play-Doh, or just so that their hands are busy while they're thinking their thoughts through before letting them go. You can also do exercise. That's actually a really good way.
Dad does. Well, he goes out for a run. He goes on his bicycle. He really enjoys it, but it's not calming.
Well, that's all right. It doesn't have to be calming all the time. Sometimes it's good to make your body alert and more awake and focused so that you can notice more around you.
Yeah.
So that's a good way. But also what's really good is jumping. Like if you've got a trampoline, especially, that's really good for getting your anxiety out sometimes as well. Just doing something that you enjoy, really.
That's a great idea. I've come to the end of my questions. I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving up your time doing this podcast.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed having a lovely little chat with you this morning, and hopefully I'll see you at one of my sessions soon. I'm going off to make that robot plan.
Yeah. Bye. That's all we've got time for today. I'll get my mum put a link to the Hearts Mind Network in the description of this episode, and also a video on social media of some of the breathing techniques we've talked about. A big thank you to my guests, and do look them up on social media or the websites that they've told us about if you're interested, as they're both doing some great things for the community. I've really enjoyed this week's episode. I've learned lots of new skills that I'm going to try myself, and maybe you can give them a go too. Join me next time for another exciting episode of Jack to the Future.